on. It's April 26, 2021. Tim?
Here.
Annie?
Here.
Brett?
Here.
All right. Do we have any additions to the agenda?
Do we need to add to talk about the passing of that bill, remake issue that Mike Bone brought up in the special meeting?
The wall.
The wall.
Well, don't we have to,
Where our legality is and what we're.
We have to talk about it tonight. I don't know if we need to add it. I think that's the question.
yeah, but that'll be, we need to talk with Todd about that for the legalities.
I don't
So
know
we
if
should
that's
ask
added
for
or
an
not.
executive, we could ask for an executive session with the lawyer.
Just put it on
end.
new business at the after all the main.
Okay.
Like a 5-minute or 10 minutes?
10 minutes, I would think, executive session. Any other further additions? Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda, please?
I'm going to adopt the agenda with that added.
I'll second.
All in favor? And Justin is here. If you review the minutes for April 12th, any changes in them?
We approve the minutes and April 15th.
Second on both.
All in favor? All four. Approval of additions for the appropriation ordinance 1485.
Do you know what signs were purchased out of the lake?
Which signs?
I just saw that it said like $165 for signs.
So she had receipts for lumber that you guys had, that you had passed at.
So just the post.
It's been for those posts and you have to finish those signs. It's been a couple meetings ago, a few meetings.
Can't
So in
spot
other words, she
markers
bought
or
the material
Yeah.
and then made the signs.
She did.
So it's the signs that she sent to us. Or did she send you pictures?
No.
I move to approve it.
second.
Just a second, okay. Tim,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
and Brad.
Yes.
Do we have any public concerns or comments? Yes?
I guess, my name's Brad Mickens, and we're part owners of 317 Park 4 Lane. And just, I guess the question is to the council is the dock, Boozer's dock gonna be moved?
Are we gonna discuss that later on?
Is that on the agenda?
It is
It's
on
on
the
the agenda.
agenda. but
She's the
it's
one that's
clear.
on the line, right?
It's on the agenda.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So we probably want to defer that until that comes up on the agenda, sir. That's all right with you.
I guess my comment would be that I would support the council's decision to enforce the laws, the ordinances that you guys have up here, and then have that done in an expedient way. And I would also like to address a comment made by Mrs. Boozer in a fall meeting, it was back in September, that she had visited with all the owners along that way, and they didn't have a problem with it, I think is how it was worded when I watched it on YouTube. That is not true. She never spoke to me nor my brother nor our wives about that. And Also, our next door neighbors, who couldn't be here tonight, also never had that conversation with either one of them. In any fact at all. In fact, I've spoken to them once since we've been here for 5 years at the lake. And it had nothing to do with it.
What was your names again, please?
There's Brad and Stacy Mickens.
Why is that on? I know we already decided on that. Why is it on other continuing council business?
I thought we closed that door.
It's already, why is it still here?
Did
Let's
she
see.
ask
Well,
it?
it wasn't.
Did it get re-added?
Yeah, because I think that there was quite a bit of discussion about it and that we needed it measured, that it should
Yeah,
be measured to
so-
make
No,
sure.
we didn't.
Well, I think I think you guys,
It changed.
I think that's correct. It's correct in the sense that there was a request to have it measured. And you guys denied
And
it.
then we found out that she had a roof on it. And
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was one that was supposed to be a floating dock that moved, and instead it was a. Was that the
Well, then-
one? or is-
Yeah,
okay.
so was it in the minutes then?
That
So
was-
Yeah, I
I
think
guess
that was
it
last
was
meeting,
my
right?
confusion. So when I was
Yeah.
listening to the minutes, it was
Not the special
requested
meeting
that
either.
Sally
Oh, it
bring
wasn't this meeting?
measurements.
It wasn't the
To
special
this
meeting, it was the last meeting.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it should be-
So that's where I,
I think we still asked to measure it to be sure that it was
Yeah.
over.
That was my
size.
understanding. I was supposed to go out and measure.
that was mine also,
mean-
but
Even though that the dock clear, I mean, it clearly says in the minutes that it was to be moved.
Well, we don't, that's fine. We're just saying that there was, before that was discussed, the city officer was directed to go measure it. And that measurement was supplied the minute, this packet, and that's probably why I got on the agenda as an agenda item rather than just being passed over. So,
Yes, it does say public officer Sally Davis was directed by Mayor Del Limerser to measure the new dock.
Yeah.
Which is why I got a,
so I think, are we still on board to talk about it when it comes up on the agenda?
it's still there. It's listed.
Okay. So just hold tight and we'll get to it.
For the record, just to clarify a little bit, the shoreline belongs to the city, not the residents that live up from the shoreline. So the ultimate say is with the city where people can put docks. If people have a problem with it, they just have a problem with it. I mean, that's the way the docks go out there. So whether she spoke with you and whether you liked it or disliked it is not a concern for the council. So,
I mean, even if it was presented as a move of a dock, and then
that's another issue. That's another issue.
And that's in-
I'm only addressing the fact that what she said that she told you, or what you're saying she told you, and what you're saying she said in the meeting. That's all I'm addressing at this point.
What
I'm not
we're
addressing
addressing
The
is
part that we're going to deal with.
Yeah.
So I just
So
wanted
would
to
that be
clarify
something
that
I'd
part.
bring up at a different meeting?
Pardon?
You won't have to.
No.
And then,
Well, this is the right place.
Yeah, yeah.
But you're.
all right.
There's-
Hang on.
It is an agenda item, yeah. That's-
I'm sorry, it's not at the top of the agenda.
Yeah,
yeah.
We should have
Sorry.
moved it.
Well, others
Yeah,
down
it
there,
is.
so we gotta do that.
Okay.
move it to the top of other
Must be
business.
quick.
Any other concerns or comments?
I'm on the phone and I have comments on ordinance 583, but I'm not sure if this is the time to.
Transfer survey.
So
Not yet.
it's on the agenda.
Yeah,
It is on
it's
the agenda. You'll have to excuse me. I had my eyes dilated and I can't read, so I'm relying on her to tell me.
Oh, no.
Well, she was gonna say I can't hear.
It's just so, my brain tells me, but I gotta tell you, because otherwise I'm gonna be crazy all night.
Yep, it's on the
So where's
agenda.
it at?
It's down
here,
here.
and then
Continue.
Literally couldn't see it. All right, yes, it'll be later on in the evening when that ordinance comes up. All right,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right, we'll do department reports now, and Deb at the lake. And she's out in the hallway. right.
I'm in the hallway.
You can go take breaths there and go over there.
Everything seems to be going okay. I've got the post all done and ready to be put in. I did get contacted. Mike's been out there and looked. David called me today and told me I needed to stay 10 foot off the road and I'd miss everything. So I was figuring that's probably about how far I'd have to go with those anyway. Concrete dock seems to be sinking on the right side. It has split down the center.
Wait, is this new? The split was,
It's split all the way down now. It was split it was starting to crack right at the start of it, but it's all the way to the end now, and it looks like the right side is sinking.
Great.
So that current is probably tearing that up too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you walk out there on that corner and you can feel it move, and you didn't used to be able to.
So what point is that a hazard? We need to be blocked off then? If you can already feel it move, when does it become a liability?
Well, we're gonna have to take it out, aren't we? I mean, that's such a huge thing that to try and fix. Is that a solid? Or is it? I don't even know what it was.
It ain't cheap either way you go.
That's probably my question.
was like, can we have Mike go look at it and give us a report on what we need to
Yeah,
do?
that'd probably be a good idea.
No, I'm just saying, I mean,
Do we need to keep,
Liability.
he wants to know if we keep people off of that.
if she's saying it's moving already, when you stand.
The one corner, it feels like it
Well,
is.
then, yeah, something like that, isn't it?
So
Okay.
I did get the board replaced. It's a little smaller than the one that was on there going to that wooden dock that Brett had asked me if I could fix it. It definitely needed fixed. But it's not quite as big as the other one, but it does get you on the dock off concrete. It's like 7 or 8 inches shorter than what the other one was. So it seems to be working pretty good.
I saw it. It's far superior than what was
What
there.
was there? I know. I don't know whether you want to put a little bit of concrete in that one hole that's there or not. There's a little bit of and the concrete is starting to split away from, I think you've seen it, Tim, there where the showers are and where that wall
Oh,
used
yeah.
to be. Do you want me to put a board on there? I mean, it's not, but,
Why don't you ask Mike about that?
okay.
I'll let him make that call. He knows more about the construction of that building than I do for sure.
Okay. And I think that's all I got that I can think of. Unless somebody can tell me how to turn on the big air conditioner that's in there. I have no idea.
That might be a mic thing too.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was hoping. Because he was out there talking to me this morning and I kept getting phone calls, so.
I hear
Might
that
have to make a list.
there's 2 fire rings that are gonna be moved. Is that right?
Yeah, there's one that if you pull onto the ledge, it's right in the road.
In the road.
If there's already 2 there, if there's already somebody in 4 and 5 and a camper tries to get through there, it's very wide, it is not gonna get through there.
Are those the only 2 that need to be moved? Or
And the one on number 2 on the lakefront needs to be moved because you cannot pull a vehicle through there.
2 or 3. I know one of those. I
It
don't
was
remember which one.
2, and I don't think I've had anybody in 3 or 4 yet. I don't think there's anything in front of it. I think it was just number 2 was right in where you need to put a vehicle up through there to unhitch.
Well, whenever they come out there, you can show them which ones need to be moved and where they should be set up.
Yeah, that's what I was talking to Mike about this morning.
Yeah.
Just need to move it to the side, but I'm not sure which side I want to go to because that big tree is right there.
Well,
And I do have posts in
No, I,
everything down by the, I got all them in the other day.
Did you dig them yourself?
Yes, I did. Well, my son and I did. And put them in the ground.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's been out there, but I took it upon myself to put in thing that says the ledge, it's a sign that says the ledge, and one that says the lakefront so that people kind of know.
What area you're talking
Yeah,
about?
and I got 2 more ready to go for the ones down yonder. But
I imagine it's picking up a little bit with of course, it's so darn windy out there now.
well, I just booked some today that are gonna come in on Friday, I think.
Okay.
But Memorial Day is clear full.
Good. Do you still wanna, what we talked about before, we're gonna put the RV? You wanna talk about that?
Yeah, I just need a clarification
All
where
right.
you guys want it, because if I put it in 6, I'm gonna have to be moving it
All right.
every weekend.
We, there's a spot on the ledge that Tim had talked about before, and when Joe and I, and she eyeballed it, it's a good place for it to be, because you can see most of the park from up there. And also that way she's not taken away from a good parking space, or, a good camping space. And so it's up on the ledge, and Mike, that post can be, he said, made hot again. In other words, electricity.
He told me it was already hot.
Or something to it, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was gonna put a plug in on the back side or something.
Okay.
I don't
But
know for
anyway,
sure.
so but there was a conversation we'd had about where to put it, and when out there, the number 6 that you have is a good spot down below that people will want to rent, and so.
So would it be east of the lower spots? Am I thinking of it right? Well, gosh, I can't think of the numbering system out there, but just towards the.
Okay, you know where the shelter houses are on that ledge?
Yep.
It would be on the north, I think that's north.
Ma'am,
You know where Dave's was?
if you're
Yeah,
if you're in the door of the bait house,
yeah.
it'll be on the right hand side of the shelter houses. Both of them.
Okay, that's where I was thinking.
Right, so clear up there.
Okay, so those are just the old pedestals that we had or whatever.
Well, there's
6 is
one
right
left,
across
there's
the
one
entrance.
left there at the end of,
If you're still standing in the same spot, look.
And
as
do
far as you
they
can to the
still
right,
work? Because I know
very
there is a
farthest
safety issue with
Yeah,
camper. with those
Mike
one
said
ton.
that it was
I thought
still
that's what
hot, because we
That's
went up
where
there
we
and looked
decided
at
to
it
put
when
it.
we
That's where
talked
it's
about
at.
this before.
Yeah.
And he said he checked and he said it was still hot.
Okay.
If he just, he just had to put it on the back side.
Okay. I know some of the old
The
ones.
box is open, that's what made me go down there, have him go down there and look at it anyway, to start with.
Some of the old ones were so hot they'd like shock somebody when they touched it. That's why I'm asking the
Yeah.
question. And that's why.
Well, if he puts a new one on the back side of it, just comes off,
Yeah.
because it's just wires in there. That's
Okay.
all it's in there right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Does
Well,
anybody else have
I mean,
any?
if he can do it, make it safe. That's.
Yeah, well,
I mean, what?
that's
I
it.
don't know, I've never been of the opinion to restrict you from parking anywhere, but that's.
I just want to make it, I don't want to take up any spot. I don't want to have to move every weekend.
Yeah.
But I do
I
kind of want to
actually-
be out there so
yeah.
people aren't pulling in and pulling out.
Well, sure. Yeah.
That was my main thing about it, is I would like her to be able to see as much of the park as possible to keep track with activities going on. Be less likely for anybody to sneak in. But anyway,
I can see everything from up there, except the last few and the pines. But,
The
I
only thing
get
I,
up, I get up at 5 o'clock, I'll drive down there anyway.
the only thing I don't want to see is it become an eyesore.
Right.
It is up where everyone can see it. You don't miss it.
Right.
If it turns into an eyesore, I have a problem. I have a problem with being there.
Right.
I
I
mean,
understand that.
so are you able to get your bait and everything that you were talking about? You then go in Kansas City to pick up the
I went to
minis and
Kansas City
things?
Friday.
And
got
so I
another
saw a
batch.
picture of goldfish that you're.
Yeah, somebody asked me for big goldfish. I think they're a little bigger than what I thought they were. When I got them home, they're about this big.
Oh. I was thinking I have a nice aquarium for one of them. Oh, pet fish.
Well, the grandkids brought a jar out and made a little aquarium for the little tiny goldfish I have, and everybody has just been fascinated with it.
Well, there you go.
So
Is there anything else that you need to know from us, Deborah?
I just thought of something, but then it went that way.
You're gonna have to carry a pad and pen.
Yeah, and I don't have it on my list here. I was just thinking about it, and then it just went by.
How many sites are you going to put posts on for the primitive?
15 on the left side and 22 on the right side.
The only thing that I'm thinking about on those, I know Dave told you 10 feet from the road. I just want to make sure that there's enough room between the post and the road for a car to pull off. And it
Yeah,
sounds
10 foot,
that's encouraging me.
kind of what I was thinking. I just got to get down there and measure it because these are 100 foot. These are 100 foot long. They're 55 wide and 100 foot long until you get over there where it's a little smaller.
And if I heard correctly, there's still a couple more fire rings down at the city office.
Yeah, that's what they said.
I was thinking about putting them somewhere in these vicinities.
Well, I wondered if you cared if there is one still on the ledge. It's an old one, and it actually has one of the clippers on it.
Uh-huh.
Could we put one of the new ones up there, and that way all the whole ledge would be all the new ones, and then put
I
that
thought
one
it
down
was
there.
up
That's
there.
There's one still up there that is the old one.
Up, where's the? Oh, I see
It's
what you're
on-
saying.
it's on
You're
one.
saying the ledge has an old one. You want to swap it out with
Yeah,
one of
can
the
I
new
put a
ones?
new one up there and put that one down in the primitive?
I'm-
'Cause, you know, we talked about.
We
Yeah.
talked about that, and what I think we were with the general consensus of the people who have a camper have a way to cook. The
Right.
people camping in the primitive need a grill.
Right.
So that's why that one was down in the primitive area.
It's not.
She wants to know.
I want to move the one with the grill thing on it in the primitive area.
To the
That's what I- to the primitive,
Okay,
and put a new one on
that's
that
what I
ledge.
wanted all along.
The mines are going the same direction.
Yeah,
You knew what we were talking about.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually.
I thought you were saying it got moved there and you wanted to move it back.
No, it's on number one.
Good.
And did you talk to anybody about, that grill up above we talked about, that concrete one, or the brick one?
No,
was gonna clean
I
out.
forgot that all over again. But I can bring it up to Mike
today.
again.
I'll try to get in tomorrow to bring all those permits in.
Okay, yeah.
There's also a grill. Well, that's for me to do.
I was gonna say. Get it all.
Is there anything that you guys would like to see me do out there that I haven't done yet? Other than getting all those branches gathered up, but every time I load them on my truck, the wind blows them out.
Have you looked on the face of the dam?
No, I have not been over on the face of the dam yet.
You should take a drive down there and look.
Is that duck house
There's-
still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's huge chunks of styrofoam. I thought there were kayaks that had blown.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. No, I
Yeah, it
haven't
needs
made
to
it
be
down
done.
there.
Somebody.
I haven't made it down there. I've chased cardboard all day.
Float
Somebody
for a
that camped
dock,
out there
float away.
had bought some stuff and they just threw the cardboard over by my barrels. I chased it down all day today.
We're taking bets on how long that deck house will stay there before something moves.
Well, it's falling apart, so they want.
I think.
Oh, and we do have a
It's
bald
been
eagle
quite a
out
while.
there again.
Oh,
I heard that we had a nesting pair.
I've seen one so far.
Well, anyway, we're gonna move on then, Deb, if this is done.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Thank you for coming in.
I'm going home.
Now, I
Going
guess-
back out to work.
Gotcha. Sally?
Foster dog, it's ready to be adopted out as soon as I get some adoption papers wrote up and that.
Is this the little tiny dog or the bigger
Yes.
one?
The bigger one's gone.
Okay.
We'll get to that one here in a little bit. So yeah, we're not gonna keep the little foster dog. It's tempting, but I got too much on the plate as it is. So I thought I would get some adoption papers, run them through, have you guys help review them and find it a good home.
Sally and I talked about this and it was my thinking, of course, just mine. I feel like whoever takes the dog should pay for whatever fees Sally has incurred. If it was my dog that got away or whatever and she had to take care of it, I would have to pay those fees to get the dog. Right? Isn't that how we have it set up?
You're talking about the foster person paying the fees?
Absolutely not. I'm talking
Oh,
about.
no,
New adoptee family.
Okay.
Now, Brett did bring up to me and asked me if I went in and had him neutered and updated on his shots. I said no, because nobody has really told me I should do that.
No.
Todd's sitting there, no. Okay, Todd took care of that question.
Well, that would make it cheaper too for the individual that adopts.
Well, that's another thing is, do we want, it said in the adoption papers that it's required to have it neutered?
No.
No.
No,
No?
I
Okay.
wouldn't, I wouldn't.
I'm not gonna tell them what to do with their dog.
Let's
They
just
wanna pay
get
for the
foster
dog,
so we
they
can
can.
vet them to make sure that they're not gonna feed it to the crocodile and then
It's
it'll
barely
go from
bigger
there.
than fish bait size.
Well, I'm estimating he's a year old. We're pretty sure he's a year old right now. And
I know
he's-
exactly how old that dog is.
He's definitely a kid. Believe me, we have gone through toys.
Remy is his
We call him Ruggy.
name. Remy was his name.
Yeah, well, it was, yeah. I also had been watching another dog that's been had a complaint on the last couple weeks. I got a phone call last night saying that they packed him up and moved him out.
Okay.
So I did go by today a couple times, have not seen him. So that issue maybe has gone. Yeah, Todd, I'd already told Todd about that. I did go talk to a young lady about apology. She felt really bad about it. And her daughter and I had a long talk about making sure the dog stays on the leash. She said it was her fault. She turned around and boom, there he went. So she was going to keep a better eye on him. That's basically all I've got.
Okay. On the animal part.
Yeah, on the animal
On
part.
one of
Yeah, yeah, because the other one's not even on it.
All right, Stephanie, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, so just a couple things. Rick Higgs had come in previously and you guys approved that he could put a retaining wall, well, redo his existing retaining wall. He has since said that rather than paying that fee, he's just gonna take out the retaining wall and just plant it with grass. So it was kind of just a letting you guys know type of thing. So there's that. And then I did receive an application for the maintenance position. I emailed it to you guys if you want it. Here it is. And then the only other thing is Kansas Emergency Rental Assistance Program. So they have reached out to me basically saying that people in the community due to COVID-19 might be able to sign up for like assistance for renting and I think it's just rent. I don't believe it's utilities, but I could double check on that. But I believe basically all I would need would be your authority because they do want us to fill out a W-9 and then ACH. So it's kind of interesting. I double checked to make sure that I actually called the office when I hung up with the lady and they said, yes, she does work with us. Like this is a legitimate thing through the state. Before I do that, so
does this money go to the person that can't pay rent, or does it go to the landlord that's not getting money?
So the way that okay, that's a good.
Because if it goes to the landlord, I'm on board. If it does not, then
Well,
I'm
and
totally
if okay, so now I have to think about that. Maybe that would be for utilities, because if we're filling out an ACH thing, it would come to me, and then I would then apply it to the.
That's your only interest.
Sounds like utility. I think they've had renter's assistance for months now.
So it's called
year.
rental assistance, but yeah, utilities is what it would be for. Sorry.
That makes
I
more
misspoke
sense.
on
I was
that.
like, why would they
Yeah,
be here?
now that I'm like thinking about that, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make
Very
sense.
confusing.
Sorry about that.
So is that
yeah,
LEAP or is that
would be
another
for utilities.
program?
It's another program. It's
Okay.
not LEAP. So it's just due to COVID-19, so I'm sure it has like a set limit and it'll probably expire after.
Do you know if it's proactive?
Okay.
I have no,
Retroactive?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. So here's the email. And I can also forward her information if anyone wants to look it over. And it's not on tonight, but something if you want to look over and let me know.
Oh, I think we should act on it. Because that sounds like a good thing.
Somebody wants to pump money in the community.
Yeah. Well, and help people out that might be having a little struggle with
Yeah.
paying utilities.
I don't think there's any, there really isn't any action to take.
I just didn't know if I'd have to.
If you
have
guys are
their-
okay with it, that her providing that information, so
Okay.
the city could get paid on utility bills,
And like I said, as long as the money
Sounds
goes
like
to
it's out
the
of
person that the money's supposed to go to.
or the utility provider,
Utility.
Oh, that's true.
the city.
There's something here for us.
Well, for the record, I thought about that when it was the renter, not the city.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, and then that's all I have.
Do we need to make a motion or is it okay to just?
No, he's just saying, just if we're okay with it, I'm
Yep.
okay with it.
Yep, sounds like.
Sounds like a
Anybody else wanna
Okay,
Cool.
yep,
approve?
all right. And Ms. Compton,
I don't really have anything. Citywide Cleanup is April 30th through May 2nd. The city is providing a dumpster. So if you don't know that, I'm going to put up some flyers. I've been a little slow. Sorry. It's going to be between City Hall and the lumberyard, the dumpster. No paint. No, sorry. No hazardous
No
chemicals, no tires, no appliances.
Correct.
I'll get a flyer up tomorrow.
No appliances?
No appliances.
That's what they told me.
Right?
Not to be nosy who you're going through.
Mike said,
No,
I'm
because
joking,
you're getting
I'm
a big
joking.
dumpster, so it's no big deal.
I'm joking.
McPherson Wrecking, who
Okay.
we've used in the past. That's who Mike recommended. So.
So I can pull a car up there and take that.
Does it have a coffee maker built in? Because that'd be an appliance.
if you want to get rid of a car, the NPR will take it because they turn it in for charity.
Passion for the money. It's
Um,
not much, I bet. But.
is it running, Brad?
That's an after
No,
meeting
no,
discussion.
It is running, but it's spoken for.
Actually,
I
did write
we're
this
through
down.
tech.
Undertaken?
You just have to find out. I can see if I can get a direct line for you. Sometimes they will take them.
Because out here, if you're not hauling yourself, it's, and if it's for no more than they're worth, it's associated wages.
Oh, that's right.
Work is continuing on the bandstand. They got all the new pylons poured, concrete supports poured. So they should be starting to put the skirt back on soon. But he's working on the floor right now. It may be done. I haven't been up there since last week.
Is there an estimated?
May 17th is the contracted finish date, or they lose their retainage rather. I don't have any reason to think they wouldn't finish by then. I think they'll start moving a lot faster. He said actually the concrete was the slowest portion of it. So that's going well. I'm gonna send a letter to the Heritage Trust Fund grant this week to ask for more money for that. She said we could get $6,498. So that remaining balance that the city's covering is just about $7,000 now. So we should get it. I don't think it'll be an issue. So just FYI, that $14,000 is now $7,000.
Is it done deal?
No, I'll send in
Oh,
a
okay.
letter. They have,
Okay.
they always have an
But they always
excess
talk to them.
left over, so they should be
Okay.
fine, and it's not a big amount for them.
Yeah.
So we should be okay. She said I can send it in any time, so I just need to draft a letter. And that's it for me, I think.
Annie, I wanted to tell you there was several children that stopped in at the store over the week after the egg. They said they had so much fun.
It was a big crowd.
And they said, when are we going to do something fun again? So,
So 4th of July, we're working on stuff. We're hoping for a concert right after 4th of July, but that's in progress still, so we're waiting.
well, I think they're getting excited.
Yeah, we'll have some fun stuff coming.
Good.
More for the park than.
Since we're talking on the park, can I throw something out right quick?
What?
The Native Stone Scenic Byway is
Oh,
doing a
sorry,
driving
about that.
tour. The Discovery Center in Manhattan is promoting a driving tour of all the byways, and our byway, of course, is the one that they're on. So there will be a driving tour, and Annie has agreed to be at the park to talk about our history at the park on May 8th, which is a Saturday, and Tim has volunteered to do that for us at the barracks at the lake. And then there will be, no one was available for the Wall Bank building, but we will have a sandwich board or a placard there. And then I will just be tooling around to all the places, but we hit the people who know the most about the spots at the time. So I wanted to publicly say thank you in advance. And if there's a lot of cars driving around, that's why.
Between
And
1 and
You
4,
were
right?
serious about that?
am I serious about
I said, you were serious about that?
Yeah.
You better be there.
Yeah, I
Put
got it.
it on your calendar.
Yeah, oh, it's on there.
I'm serious.
Dang it.
And I'll bring down the whole enchilada. So
Yeah,
come
and
talk to me.
hopefully what that does is promote the area so that then they will come back on other times, is what it is. It's promoting the byway, which is promoting the communities that all these buildings are on, and so on and so forth, so.
Tim, if you need half of that day off, I'd be glad to help you.
Would you?
I love, I love to talk and I love the lake, so. I would have no problems helping you out.
All right. Well, we can tag off at noon then.
No, because it doesn't even start until noon. You're on it, buddy.
She already agreed. It's on camera.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm overruling that. You can't bail out on even half of yours. You have to.
I'll do, you got my number, Tim, in
All
case
right.
you need a break.
Yes, it's,
How long do you think seriously though, how long do you think it'll go?
it's 12 to 4, that's it.
Oh, you get a nice little tan there. Okay, all right, so Annie, you're done then?
I'm done.
Review purchase requests and work orders. Anybody have any? Oh, we don't have any.
You're fine. I
No.
should have mentioned it, honestly.
All right, new city business, 259 Ponderosa Dock transfer. Lofton to,
Approved.
Second.
all in favor? All. 349 Lakeshore Drive dock permit, Armstrong.
Okay.
Yeah,
Quite a
Sally
few
knows about it.
That's just board for board, isn't it?
You guys got the
Yeah.
pictures I took?
It's just both.
It's just board for board, right?
Or-
Yes,
That's all,
yes,
that's all.
yes.
I'll move to approve 349 Lake.
Pictures that you
Do we
took
need anything?
that was sent to us.
No.
Approved it? Okay.
No, do you feel that you have something that we need to hear about before we approve it?
No, I mean, we,
It's within specs as a board for board.
yeah,
I thought they didn't even have to come to us to do this.
They have
Well,
to fill out the permit.
Yeah, we have, they fill it out.
But I didn't
Fill out-
think, but I didn't think you had to come. They just had to fill out a permit, and it was automatically approved because it was board for board. It didn't
Okay, well,
have to change it.
No, I don't think there's.
well, they are gonna remove something, guys. Did you read that?
Yeah, this,
They are gonna, they're gonna do a little changing.
Yeah, I saw the shade section on there.
Yes, and which it needs to be, cause it's,
a little
it's-
shady.
yeah, it's a little shady. And that. But otherwise, everything else looked okay. Yes, there are a lot of boards. And I did you send me pictures of my measurements too? So I did go ahead and measure it all, so everything looked okay.
No, let's get it. Okay.
You got a motion.
You do have
I
a
still move
motion.
to approve.
I didn't hear the motion.
Move to approve 349 Lake Shore Drive.
And who was the second?
Yeah, was there?
I will second.
We have a motion to
Look at
approve.
my pictures.
We're still having discussion.
I think she sent it to you.
Then a second.
I
There is
second
a
it.
second. All in favor to approve Armstrong, or
Wow. I mean,
place for place.
do you need more information?
I'll take Sally's word for it.
I
see the
guess I
measurement, but
did.
She measured it
It
and.
doesn't look crazy.
I guess I forgot to do copies of your,
You got mine over there. You can just let Kim look at it.
I mean,
It's irrelevant now, so.
but the others as well.
The Würzburger dock, have you seen that?
Yes, I have.
Is it, what size is the original dock that's
Okay.
sitting there?
Stephanie, where's the pictures to
It
the,
says existing dock 20 by 20.
Is that what size it is?
Existing dock 20 by 24 plus walking 28.
this is their existing dock. This is the ramp. And then this is the dock here. What they do, where's the second picture?
It's there.
Oh, it's right here.
Is that it?
This is what they want to move in right in here. So this gives you actually the idea how far it is from the lake shore.
What is this? A floating dock.
This is for jet skis lift. Isn't that what it is?
Is this what we're looking for?
Probably.
She said it's, yeah. No, she
Does it
does.
look like a jet?
It does. It does. She sent me this picture.
I don't know if it's a lift, but it's a jet ski.
It's a floating.
Floating dock.
Okay, do you
That's
guys
what it is.
know what Larry Clark's look like? You've seen Larry Clark's, haven't you?
Well, I know what this is.
Well, but like we were talking, the bottom line is the dock is already at max and he's wanting to go over the what's requested.
Okay, but if they have two structures, aren't they allowed to have, no, they're not?
No,
They can have two separate docks.
well, but no, they have two structures and they have two docks. At the time that the ordinance was passed, they can maintain them. But you
They were
can't build an
grandfathered.
oversized dock.
They want
Two,
to-
Okay,
two structures, two like housing structures or
they're
two?
building a garage with running water, what all they have to have.
Well,
in
but
there.
even if they did, it would have to be 10 feet separate and still a separate dock.
Yeah, that
You
would
can't
make
make,
sense.
you
So
can't
they
make it
can't
into
add
a
that to it. And I
Not
told
to
them I
mention
didn't.
the fact that they have to get it past the city council to be permitted to build another dock.
Yeah.
And I happen to know of two city council people that are not in favor of any more docks.
So I think the problem here is that we're having is that this creates basically an oversized dock.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, and that's what I told them. I didn't sure that we could do that right there because that was gonna make it bigger and
I
plus
think
closer.
you guys have allowed the actual retracting up and down lifts, but not floating.
And when we do allow the lift, it has to be cut in like this right here. So it
there's
still
probably
has the same footprint.
are these occupied to the
So will it
sides
go
or?
here?
That's
We
what
can
I
take that
wanted,
and stick that.
but then it'll be
There is,
oversized.
yes, there is docks on the other side. So there would be no way.
Here's their footprint.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you can see on
Oh,
the
yeah.
picture here, there's here,
This
and
is
there's a
Oh,
dock
okay.
right there. So, yeah, the
Well,
only way
whether
they
it is
can
or
bring
not
it
is
in
not
is that they
the way
put
this-
it.
But even if
I don't
20
even
by
think
24
there's,
is the
there's not even room to go out that way.
it's really a new point there.
I was more concerned
no matter which direction.
And this.
Because this is where they wanted to put it. It being too close, there's a shore.
Yeah.
No, then they added a roof.
Oh, with that too.
So,
That would have saved us a
Yeah.
whole lot of conversation.
Well, that's-
Sure would.
It is
Like,
essentially
what?
creating a bigger than what is allowed dock.
You want to take, you do need to take action on it, I think, officially.
Move to deny.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
And then really quick to touch on what Brad said. So I feel like you get different answers on this. When someone wants to just do a board for board repair, they fill out the permit. I still bring it to you guys, but it's free of charge.
Yeah.
Okay,
But okay.
okay,
That
Yeah.
way we have a record of it on file.
yes.
Yeah, I'd want
Okay, so it does come to
I
you.
say it should still.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think everything.
I think the general attitude of the council is we allow for
Right.
that, even if they have the two docks to a structure or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's correct.
So,
All right, moving on to 411 Walnut fence permit, Taylor.
okay, on this one here, all they're wanting to do is add right here.
And this is city limits.
Yeah, it's in the city limits. It's over Dieter's old place. They got the boarded up fence with, or pin. They're gonna take out this part right here and then just add wire.
And it does not go in the alleyway. It's all on their properties.
Yes, it's all gonna stay on their property. And she'd already measured out where her party line.
She knows how far it is from the
Yeah.
neighbors.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, she's
Oh, I see.
way
Yeah.
within.
Okay.
She is way within that.
Okay.
And the part that's on the back here is gonna be same distance as what's existing and everything.
yeah. We're far enough back from the alley probably, right? That's-
Well,
that-
to see that the alley's back behind here.
I was like, I don't think it's even.
Yeah, there's not even really a true alley
line there or
there.
something.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's right behind walls.
The driveway's back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll move to approve 411 Walnut fence permit.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Yes. 80 Lakeview Circle Dock transfer, Dolan to Carlson.
Move to approve.
Second.
Annie? Anyone?
Brad's always trying to beat me.
All in favor?
I'll keep it myself.
You can have this one.
Oh, can I?
No, please, that'd be worth that. All right, no. 74 Lakeview Circle Dock transfer, Carlson to
That's
Esquibel. Family Trust. Oh,
move to approve.
do I have a second?
Second.
Moving right along. Oh, all in favor?
Yeah.
I almost moved along too fast. Yes.
Well, do we need that before? Can we
We can
hold
go
that
ahead, you
until?
can move that to the very end.
All right.
Yeah, let's.
Yeah,
I
let's
forgot, I
do
didn't
that.
know that was on.
That way we're not
Okay.
kicking
The
everybody out. and bringing them
Yeah.
back.
Oh, yeah. It was just carried over, so I didn't move it.
As long as it doesn't pertain to the
So do we want to
businesses.
do the floodplain management ordinance?
No, it's the first thing to move that to the end.
Yeah.
No, we're moving, no, we're moving executive session.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
So we're still, so we are on the floodplain ordinance. So that's not in the packet, but that's been produced to you. Yes.
Is the dock transfer ordinance, is that on here?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
the next one.
It's the next
Oh, there
one.
it is.
The land bank is actually on there.
That's because I put it on the next agenda,
Okay,
city agenda.
I wrote it down just in case.
Just in the flood.
You said the biggest change on the floodplain was really like outbuildings, barns and.
Yeah, and it technically wasn't a change because your old ordinance had it on there. It was just optional.
It was slow.
Now it's
So,
mandatory.
well, that was on mandatory. You guys wanted it added. Remember? I gave you the short version. You guys said, no, give me the long version. Give it. We want a full one.
I don't remember saying that, Todd.
I'm not sure.
It was a long meeting.
I asked for that.
If it's a-
Better laugh.
I guess it's a long time
I'm sure,
ago.
I'm sure.
We're not paying
That's
for it.
right, you learned something. And he said we're not paying for it. Mr. Luck.
It wasn't me. That was Marcia.
You'll
Okay,
pay- you'll- you
put
guys
words in
will
my
pay
mouth,
for it.
Marcia.
My tax dollars don't pay for that. We didn't say that. I was here, we didn't say that.
All right, so then we've discussed this. Do you guys want to approve it?
That's what's in front of you.
That's what I'm trying, it's right here. This
Yeah,
book.
you've got, it's
I
due
read
May
it.
31st, is that
I
right?
think so.
May 31st,
I
they'll,
think I'm all
they'll take
kinds
away all
of
your flood watch.
talkative and-
We could do it tonight or wait until the middle of May.
I'm okay with it. I slept through reading it right before the meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, thanks
All
for
right.
that, Todd.
Nothing jumped out at me and said, hey, this doesn't look right.
Okay, first meeting in May.
No, they're not.
I think.
Does that mean you make a
I think
motion?
we're okay with.
Yeah, you gotta make a
If,
motion.
if you are feeling the same way.
I feel fine with it, yeah. I think we need to
I'm going to
address it.
approve it.
I'll second it.
Kick this can along enough.
It's an ordinance, so it's a roll call vote,
Yep.
please.
That's what I'm gonna put right there. Tim,
Yes.
Annie,
Yes.
Justin,
Yes.
and Brad.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yay. Get that off.
Okay.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Book.
You guys are having fun with this? That's so interesting.
Help put Sutton to sleep, I'm sure.
So this is another one we've been through. It's
Lakeland
backing
Muncie
down.
property transfer survey.
Second, third, et cetera, tiers are,
Excluded.
yeah, excluded, but they have to inventory the property. That's as a condition.
Yeah, they have to.
Did we lose her?
Oh, we did have.
Oh, it's
Is it
Brett.
ringing?
It's Brett.
Do you have more than one person there?
There was somebody on the line that.
Hi, Brett.
Had something about this.
You could talk to her already
Hello?
right there.
Stephanie?
Yes,
There
you
you
are
go.
on speakerphone. So do you,
Yeah, I had to go to the doctor today. I cut my eyeball, so I'm
Oh.
sorry I missed the meeting, but I'll be there now.
okay,
Couldn't say
so,
his
can we have you call in on the number? Cause we actually have people waiting on the other line.
Yeah,
Let me see.
She's
So
gonna give you the number.
it
Give me a phone number. I'll
is-
text it to you.
It'll be on.
No,
Yeah,
don't-
you
don't-
too.
don't-
Here,
don't do
hold
that.
on. Hold on, Brett.
He's not
Let me
that.
find
Let him say it.
Justin's.
Listed.
If you have a pen and paper, it is.
I wrote it down one time.
816
How do you do that?
406
Email, I've been emailing for months.
3989.
I don't know what to tell you.
And then you have to do the conference ID 789 5839 and then press pound.
Somebody asked him exactly how you cut an eyeball.
No, I don't want to know.
7895-839 pounds.
Yes.
We're not having that conversation.
And we'll watch for you.
What week's that?
Tom's really freaked out by it.
I like
Probably
it.
will.
Does it deflate?
Okay.
He sounds older on the phone.
Like a balloon.
Is there a way to see what people want?
Yeah, there is.
Okay.
Yep, I can,
Okay, now I've
I'll
lost
just know
track
somebody
where we're
popped
at.
on.
We did the
Gotcha.
thing.
I don't have his phone number anymore.
Perfect. I need that.
We all do.
She's probably got it scratched out
So,
16 times.
Are we waiting for him to join us?
Yeah, let's wait for him to join us. He probably wants to be on the record on this.
Wow.
Okay.
And wait a few days. I want to talk to you.
Yeah.
I had something I wanted to tell the council tonight. Red,
I think that's
I
right.
get about a 60-40
Um,
response.
it's nothing that you have to take any action on. You know, where you pass the ordinance on the commercial buildings. I think we should send that ordinance to all the people that own buildings on Main Street so
Absolutely.
that they can have a look at it. I was gonna ask that you to do that. And I just wanted you to know.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I
'Cause
think it requires them to register anyway, right?
Eventually, but I want them to see it first so that they know what they're going to be doing.
Okay.
And then we can help them along. That's all.
FYI, Brett should be on now. See him at least.
Brett, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay.
You haven't passed it yet.
That's what we're talking about now.
There was somebody on the
Okay.
line.
I
that
think
wanted
there
to
was
talk
some about it.
And I was gonna ask under mayor council comments if anybody had, like, if there'd been any blowback from that yet, because I kind of expect there to be about the building ordinance.
Oh.
So I,
Oh,
so
oh,
yeah, so in that light, I agree with sending it to them. That's, you know,
Yeah, the only way they'd know otherwise is because it's published.
Mhm.
yeah.
But
Which
you don't.
Say what's
they-
I don't think it was in, well, it might have been in last week's paper. I sent it after the meeting,
But, yeah,
either this week or last week.
no reason not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
I just tell people I'm the late guy.
there's the other four, that's
They're
there.
marking up. They're on creative.
There's no Main Street out there.
Back in the ordinance.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Lake Wabunsee property transfer survey.
Is this property transfer survey?
I will move to approve it.
583.
This is one we passed last week.
Oh, okay.
Just talking about sending it to all the
Yes.
business owners. We're trying to
I'll second.
not let any buildings.
You did have signs.
Yeah. Tim,
Who made the motion?
Tim made the motion.
You made the
Brad
motion.
seconded.
Brett seconded.
And Brett's still online.
Okay.
Is he?
It's probably hard for them to hear.
Brett, you still there?
Brett, okay, all right, we're gonna do the, roll call on the ordinance, 583.
I thought there was somebody on the line.
There's public comment on it first?
Oh, wait a minute, who are you? Who's this?
I'm Dave Frederick on the phone.
Okay. You wanna, make a comment on the ordinance for,
I do, and I have a few concerns with it. I don't know if you wanna just put them all out there and then we can go back, or if you want to talk about them as I say them.
Go all three of them, then we'll.
There's.
What?
Okay, first of all, there's been, a lot of, transactions, real estate transactions where the seller isn't necessarily in a position to fund any kind of expense before a sale closes. I mean, and what if the seller is deceased, incompetent, bankrupt, out of state, just a jerk? And that would make the buyer unable to purchase because the seller is unable or unwilling to obtain the survey, or make repairs or removal or remodel or whatever. Maybe just adding the word purchaser in, I think there's 2 or 3 places. And then deleting the word at the owner's expense in a couple of places, because why do you guys care who pays for it as long as it gets done? And then another thing about sellers paying for a survey before it closes, there's a lot of sellers that don't want to put out money because they're afraid that maybe a buyer isn't going to follow through and it might not close, and then they've put that money out there. Next, the time period. maybe providing a time period after it closes that buyers repairs, remodels, so that so the seller can move on down the road or do whatever they need to do. Then maybe the last thing, and I think you guys have talked about that, if a seller has a survey and they just they don't actually have to get a new survey, but the way it reads, it says they need to get a new survey. And then I think this is my last thing. There is a part, it says on 30 days prior to the transfer of the title, the requirement of the survey needs to be kind of further defined. I mean, does it actually mean 30 days before closing as opposed to 31 or 29? Maybe it should say within 30 days or not more than 90 days. I think there's a few still unanswered things that need to be discussed. Repeat anything if I need to, and my questions, I can either email them in or I can drop them off at Tom's office tomorrow when I'm in Topeka, across from his office, if that would be more convenient.
Well, it just sounds like it was an either or thing, either the buyer or seller was just so somebody's.
Well, let me go over a couple of your things here. First, the last one first. I mean, essentially, it could be any time 30 days prior to the transfer of the real estate. So, I mean,
we said if a survey happened to exist at the county, they just provide a copy of that to us, and that satisfies the requirement. So there, the 30 days is
so that takes care of that one.
moot. So I don't know. I could be in favor of striking 30
the
days.
ordinance does say 30 days exactly. Sorry, this is another person who has the same comment. That is the language in the ordinance.
well, not that I don't appreciate a good technical, crazy, almost in bad faith reading of an ordinance. I think the concept is, and you can quote me on this, for all future interpretation of this, that it just means that you need to have something done 30 days before the title is transferred.
Basically, that's all. 30 days before.
They could put the words "at least" in there or whatever. I don't.
I'll be honest, your comments are not really appreciated. As a property owner, and that it affects our property value and our costs. But in addition, I'm a practicing lawyer, so I just read it willy-nilly. I also read it in depth, so thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Well, are we back on? Is it Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. The idea, I think, of the other things about who pays, I think I understand that, except I'm kind of at a loss as to, as a practical matter, when I sold my property, I did a lot of things that caused me expense. I had to fix things and, clean up and do a lot of stuff to it. So
Could you not build a close? I mean, don't a lot of surveyors do that as an option? Sometimes they have to charge for that, but
I wouldn't see that would be a problem to put it in as a part of the title work or a closing cost to be repaid or something like that either.
Well, there is, this is Dave Frederick again. There is in the Sunflower MLS, which includes Valencia County, a couple lines in the real estate contract. There's options for surveys to be done, boundary survey, pin survey, and then there are options for who's going to pay for those, who's going to do it, when is it going to be done by, and who's going to pay for it. So there's all that language is already available for people buying and selling. and maybe a copy of the contract needs to be looked at by you guys. And we know that not everybody out there is going to use as that contract, and some contract, some sales are going to be quiet sales passed through your neighbors or friends or whatever. So there might not be an actual real estate contract.
Well, I mean, I understand there's a lot of variation in this, but at the end of the day, I mean, a seller is not necessarily a person, I just have a hard time believing that a seller is not motivated to get a survey or to get anything done that is necessary for them to sell their property. And I know there's some instances where, like you said, in the state wouldn't necessarily have a lot of resources to go, fix some things or do some things, but there still is a real need, I think, on the council's part to understand where property lines are, regardless. So, I mean, that's the purpose. And I don't know quite how to, if the council has an idea of what they're trying to square that with what they want, because
The thing to say is that if you are going to require property owners out there to find property lines, you guys, the city council, the city of Esbridge is just as liable for finding your property line.
I brought this up, didn't I?
Mhm.
This is an issue I brought up.
I totally get what you're doing and understand it. But there has, I mean, if you guys don't know where your property lines are, why should we as property owners have the burden of proving to you where it is or isn't? And
well,
I get it.
the reason why is because
Totally get
there are a lot of people who are putting things on the city's property. We're not putting,
that.
we're not trying to put things on your guys' property. The things we're putting on there would be utilities, which I assume that you guys would like to have on there, and those are underground usually and not intrusive. But people are putting visible structures of size upon city property. And then they're maintaining other things on their own property. And if we don't know where that is, we'll get a situation where, like you were involved in, if I remember right, with the gazebo. If we would have had that done right off the bat, that wouldn't have been in dispute at all, because somebody could have showed us where the gazebo was in relation to that property.
And in that particular instance, I came in the middle of that, not realizing that you guys had already talked about it once. The sellers did not bring that up at the time. But again, I mean, it seems like there should be a way that we can all work together, property owners and the Esbridge, and finding property lines. And I know that I understand what you're saying about utilities and all that. Yes, we wouldn't like them. But for owners to prove that where their property starts and ends, I mean, you guys have the same responsibility to prove where yours starts and ends.
Well, we don't. I'm saying we don't because nobody is building things or asking to build things on your guys' property. They're asking us to allow them to build docks, to build structures on our property. We have allowed it.
Well, that's the correct way to do it, yes. And that's the way we would all like it. You guys in the council would like it to happen. But let's go back to the gazebo thing. That was with owners, and the current owner, I mean, that gazebo was on private property. And it was assumed that it was on public property, but it wasn't. So you guys never did your own survey. So I assume the issue got dropped because you guys were wrong. After you saw 2 surveys from the previous owners.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. That we didn't know where it was on. We assumed it was on our property because it looked like that was the case. And when the dispute came up, the surveys proved that we were wrong. And now we're asking for people to do that when they transfer the property.
Don't the people get a survey when you sell your house anyway?
You know,
You don't have to. It's not a rule.
You can, like you said,
It's a requirement.
it's on the standard contract, but they can
And
waive
you
it by
guys have talked
agreement.
about before that I would agree that if you're gonna build a house, you ought to know where your property lines are. And one of the, you guys just did a dock transfer tonight for 74 Lakeview Circle, and the buyer requested that the sellers locate the pin and find the property line, and the sellers pay for it, and pins are out there, the flags are out there, and right now.
And that's great, but that has nothing to do with us.
It just kind of depends on buyers and sellers at this point.
well, and I mean, the thing that I don't know if it came up in your case or not, but one of the concerns is that we have an actual platting situation at the lake that's kind of questionable. I think it's confusing for a lot of people. It's confusing for anybody who's slightly experienced in this. I think the surveyors can help us all straighten that all out at that, at the register of deeds level too. Now, at some point that's got to be, somebody's gonna have to step up and fix it if we don't. And that's why part of this is there's interest on all sides, it seems to me, to do this in the manner it's being done. First of all, we don't, as I've just said, we don't usually have to worry about property lines because we're not building on somebody else's property. 99% of the time. But it's different when it's the opposite. So if we can get the people who are interested, and when they're transferring is when the time is best, we're best equipped to get that, because everybody's interested in getting it cleared up. Everybody gets clear title, everybody gets a clear understanding of where things are. And then we don't end up with a situation where 3 transfers later, somebody understands and finds out that the thing that they thought was on their land is not, or the thing that they thought was not on their land is. So it can clear up a lot of later problems. I'm trying to think if that was part. I mean, there was another one that happened a long time ago where that trail was, right? I remember right, the walking trail. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, I remember something about a walking trail, but that's, yeah.
Is that out there by Ostrander's?
Where they kind of crossed the property line a little bit.
Gills were really upset.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Got into it really bad.
Yeah, there was probably another example. There was a walkway that was it's kind of just probably by negligence was encroaching on somebody's property, and it ended up with 2 neighbors in a dispute about it, which.
They've been using it for years.
Yeah, and so that's just it. You use it for years, nobody says anything, and you end up with those kind of fights. Well, yeah, I don't know if we answered all the questions or not, but.
No, I have questions that Dave has just finished.
Go ahead.
Yep, I'm finished for now.
This is Jennifer Fork. I have the same comment as Dave indicated, the frequency, if I were to have one on file already, what's the frequency that it must be updated at the register of deeds? Again, knowing that everyone is trying to figure out where those pins are, but if I were to sell a home and then that home to resell again in the same year, 5 years, 10 years, the frequency of that requirement is not defined. In addition, the shoreline, now I've never seen a survey from the lake, but the shoreline all belongs to the city. When I hire a survey, it looks for my pins around my property line, and there's a requirement to then go out to the shoreline to the lake to determine what's in front of your home or your property line, how is that determined? Because knowing the shoreline in all of the cities, there's not pins that will create a determining factor. So do I have how much land in front of my home is actually being required to be surveyed that belongs to the city, to the dock, because the dock is actually city land, of course.
Well, I think the idea, if it wasn't clear, was that when it's on city property, I mean, the survey is of that owner's property alone. The inventory is of items, docks, structures, things that property would claim ownership to only. So if you were selling a piece of property, you got that surveyed, and then you know that because the owners say so, they have a dock and a shed and a walkway, and they can point to them. That's all you have to inventory. And then we can presume that the things that are maybe closer and maybe within that footprint area that they don't claim are not theirs. And eventually it'll come out whose they are, or we'll work that out through this process. But they wouldn't be required to do anything other than say what they own or permit with the city that's on the city property. Does that make sense?
The trust factor, because I mean, I guess that's the dispute resolution part where I don't understand. You have an imaginary line, so to say, in front of your real property, but it gets pretty wishy-washy with folks who have docks that use the easement to go to their docks on your real property. So say a second tier or third tier puts a fire ring near their dock, because they claim or don't claim it, they're still in the same dispute. I don't think the ordinance resolves what you're trying to dispute, because you don't have any claims to that real property in that dispute.
Okay, well, the subsection A2, I mean, that's where this is. I think that it says the owner shall provide a current photographs of all docks or other structures to be transferred with the property sale, clearly showing the condition of the dock or structure. If there's any to be removed, it shall be so noted. And shall also photograph describing structures maintained on city property that are not permitted with the city. So time to, if there is something that you haven't permitted because you didn't think it was permitted, and like the example I think probably was, we had some retaining walls that I don't think people understood were supposed to be, were structures. But whether or not those are the case, this is, again, it's more of a chance to clear up what we've got where we may be missing something and we don't end up with something that is not claimed by anybody and then tearing it out and have somebody run in and have a problem. So that's why that is where the inventory comes in.
Okay. As a follow-up to that, is there some place to go to look for grandfathered docks and other items that were approved in the past? I know that's been a conversation that you all have had in some of the litigation as that pure documentation part. For instance, the dock next to us is a very old dock, and are there records demonstrating that they received approval when that was built and all of the permitting process? Because if I have to accept responsibility, it's at least denied that I don't own that, or it's not my permitted dock or my permitted fire pit. My concern is to be able to go back through that history to demonstrate that approval process. It becomes the obligation of the owner.
Well,
They're in the files. I mean, for I don't know how
We go all the way
many
down.
years. I mean, there's several years in there.
I can remember.
what, you mean like 80s, 90s?
Yeah. I came to
That's
town in
what I don't
'87.
know.
I started coming to the meetings and they started getting permits back then.
But I don't know.
Hard copy.
I don't know.
That's the, so you do things like, for instance, the dispute with the home with the sidewalk is that there was a permit issued, and then the background as to what it actually stated on the application. My brief, very not super knowledge of that, though, is that the documentations on the permit applications may have not been fully complete. So if, as a real estate owner, you'd be concerned that you might have to prove something that happened in the 80s. I mean, that dock is extremely old, so I'm not sure what that would look like, but having access to that would be important.
Yeah, and I think that my interpretation of it would be that we're really talking about structures that would be subject to being permitted and paid for, right?
Not the docks. I mean, the docks are a done deal. They're on our water. That's a given.
If you're, yeah,
What we're wanting to define is the line between the property owner and the city property. So we know if that shed out back is on our property.
and then the resulting being for this question is that shed a structure that's permitted? I mean, as far as structure feet, right?
Exactly.
If it's there in whenever it was done in 80, 90, last year, it's gonna have an entry and you're gonna be collecting a permit fee for it.
Right. Those files, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, were done when Lisa and John Taylor were here, correct?
It may have been.
Can't.
Okay. I think that's.
So
what
the
he
language
was-
in D6 is reduction in oversized docks or correction of otherwise non-conforming docks. So I'm referring to is non-conforming to the current size of approval, because it's older when the big docks were allowed, which is fine. But if I to prove that, how do I demonstrate that?
Why are we talking about docks?
Because it does say that. It
Reduction
does
of
say that.
oversized.
Number
I think
6
it's
on
talking about the grandfathered in.
Yeah, and I think what the aim of all this is that gives, if there is a dock that is a nuisance dock that is falling in or is damaged, that gives the council an ability to address that or condition it, saying you can transfer it if you remove this thing that's old, or that you always maintain this size, you don't increase the size, or that you reduce it by 3 feet, or whatever they want to do to take something that's kind of grandfathered in and change it at this point.
I guess my point, there's no exception to that laundry list, and it does say non-conforming docks have to be, could receive denial. And so that's a concern for homeowners to have non-conforming docks that conform to the tax statute.
Yeah, well, it says, B says may, so they may deny. It doesn't say they must or shall. So it's still a discretionary call by the city.
Or condition.
I can't think of an instance where we actually did not adopt because it was in that oversized category. I mean, it's not our intent to sever the dock to, between the dock and that structure. That relationship should be maintained. But yeah, it says it in here, so I see your point.
Well, is there any other questions or comments that we need to address other than what we have?
I could see what Dave said on A1 there. The owner shall obtain at the owner's expense the survey. I don't necessarily see the need to define whose expense in that transaction. I could see his point there.
So the suggested change would be at least or not more than 30 days prior to the transfer of title of real estate. The owner shall obtain a survey of the property owned. To say not at the owner's expense.
Yeah.
That would do it.
Would that resolve that issue? Folks on the phone?
Jennifer?
It's It's loud, so I can't hear the conversation, sorry.
Sorry.
We're talking about changing A1 to state as follows. More than 30 days prior to the transfer of the title of real estate, the owner shall obtain a survey of the property owned, excising at the owner's expense.
You're just wanting it
Yeah,
And the second
30
sentence,
days
at
at
the
least
owner's
ahead of the
expense.
change.
Yeah, did you catch any other ones?
Was it within 30
Justin?
days or not? Because that's
No,
where
it
the
was-
conversation is.
It was not more, this is more than 30 days prior. Right? That covers it.
This is a silly question. I don't know how much the delay is for surveyors, do you guys? Like from asking for service to
I don't think that's a silly
on the
question at
30
all.
days prior. For instance, we bought our property closed on it within 15. I think Dave's comment was something to the extent of allowing some flexibility, which is where I would advocate as well. But again, I apologize, I'm having trouble hearing.
Yeah, well, the only thing I'm concerned about is, I guess, the transfer. If the transfer is done, the idea is that the enforcement of it for the city is to not transfer the docks. Right? I mean, if you guys aren't going to be able to get, I mean, in reality, we're not going to be able to get into the middle of a transfer of property we don't own, in essence.
Yeah, and we I think that makes sense if it's related not to the transfer of the real estate, but transfer of the dock or the whatever permitted item.
Yeah. Well, you guys, the real estate folks on the phone can tell me if that's going to cause you heartburn as well. My thought on that is that if it's not clear that that's not transferred until such time as the city approves it, that somebody would have difficulty if it's delayed. After, the buyer buys it, then somebody says, "Oh, you got to go do this." They go to the council. The council says, "Well, we need this, this, and this," and they go, "Nobody told me that." Now we're in a kerfuffle. So that's kind of why we wanted to have it in advance. But I don't know that we're concerned about it. We just want you guys to understand that's the danger.
Well, 30 days also allows, because we have 2 meetings a month, and if there is additional clarification needed, that could happen at that second meeting, in theory. So, that, just looking out, it could be a maximum of 30 days. Do we need 30 days in every situation? Yeah, probably not. But that's, it's a good thing to shoot for, I guess.
Well, and I think it's probably there's no good answer to it, except that's kind of the trade-off. We don't really have an interest in saying, it can't be up to the day of the transfer of the title or anything, or after. It's just, that would be your hang-up. Well, let's talk about this.
Would make the recommendation on, it would be the conditional approval of the city, because that's who has the document tied to a real estate transaction. So for instance, in our transaction, personally, it was fully disclosed that would be submitted, but it was all conditional upon approval of the city of Eskridge.
So your sale was conditional upon approval of dock transfer?
No, we closed the real estate, but it was, the seller told us that the approval of the transfer wise was intended to go with the real estate, but that was all conditional upon the approval of the city of Eskridge.
Okay. So you knew if the city said no, that you're just out.
Yes. Or we would find another location on the lake. We did our, Stephanie was very helpful. Thank you.
Yay, Stephanie.
Okay, so does that constitute any kind of a rewrite here, or can we?
Well, that's probably your question. What is the council's preference now? Because we have
If there's enough,
torn some things apart.
yeah, if there's enough editorial that needs to be done, I'm in favor of pulling back the reins and getting her done.
I want to pass this, but I want it to be right when we do pass it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and compromise is a good thing.
Well, here's what I'll say to the folks. I will take notes on what this is, but if you want to submit,
Yeah, and I totally agree. I want you guys to pass it, but I, more importantly, just like you guys want it to be right the first time, because it's going to open up a can of worms if
well,
one person can sneak by and then the next one's going to sneak by.
what I would,
You're right the
Yeah.
first time from the get-go.
Thank you.
well, I was going to suggest to the folks on the phone, since you're obviously interested in this, that if you feel like it's important to clarify that, just shoot me an email with those issues, and I've obviously heard it and can make the changes how I think they should be made. But if you have input, email me with that. It's todd@stumblelaw.com. I just said that out loud, so everybody's writing.
They're gonna be on the junk mail list.
Yeah. Not that you can fire me for,
He's
but that's.
interested in pro bono work.
I do it all, saw sharpened and contracts reviewed. So if you want to put that down and suggest language, we'll take it and see what we can do.
I did feel like it was a valid point if your seller was deceased or unable to.
Thank you. I think good discussion, good moving forward, and hopefully we'll get it worked out together.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Jennifer.
Appreciate your
So
comments.
as far as the motion and the second that you had.
Yeah,
I withdraw.
Dawn,
Yeah, I withdraw.
withdrawn. Okay.
And we'll discuss this at the next
Next meeting?
lake meeting or city
meeting.
meeting.
Can we have it on the city meeting, please? Like, I don't want to wait another month.
I agree.
This is already holding us up a half a month
Or more.
I agree.
So it's
better. So if we could put it on the Eskridge meeting, please, that'd be great.
May 10th.
Hopefully it'll be quick.
All right,
Yeah.
well then, our lawyer will get those changes in there and he'll email them to Stephanie. We can read them and be prepared to make comment or pass it. at the
Second
time.
Todd.
So we didn't vote on that, right? Because Tim moved and I seconded.
Yeah, but we withdrew.
It was
Action, there's no voting on it.
Yes, sir. Hopefully your eyes are all right.
Does it bleed?
I don't know if
He's
I
turning
bleed or
red,
not.
guys, stop.
Oh, we shouldn't talk about it. Gosh, my thing is a mess here. Let's see, executive. Floodplain, we did that. Transfer.
Yeah.
Would you guys,
Yeah.
you did
307.
already vote on this, but
Did you
it was
measure it?
directed for Sally
Yes,
to
she's
have.
got the measurements.
So it is.
Is anybody on the phone for the what is it? Boozer doc request?
Oh, here.
They're here.
Okay. Just wanted to, thought maybe somebody was on the phone for that.
Yeah, so did I.
That's all right, man. I'll share.
Just
It looks
keep
like
all the
it's done.
copies.
Well, yeah.
Well, it's all
easier to
the-
make pictures of each and name it.
Okay, so that now we're on to 307 East Flint Hills Drive with Boozer. And this was brought up because, well, we talked about it before, we did ask for measurements, and then we found out that there was a roof on it,
Yeah, and it was longer.
and that it was longer. So that's,
Madam Mayor, are roofs not allowed on docks?
The
I have
permit
to be on the permit.
wasn't for a roofed dock.
Okay.
That's what.
Yes, sir.
First off, we weren't aware of it. Well,
Can't hear you, sir.
You have to
we didn't
speak up.
realize the roof was a separate thing on the permit when we applied,
Can you lower it down?
which is our fault. We bought and paid for a 20 by 24 foot dock.
max docks. This is their typical configuration, is 20 by 26. We have talked to him about shortening it. We've had conversations with him. So, which would put us in compliance.
You also need height on the roof.
This is not what we agreed upon when you guys came in there originally last time. This is not what we agreed upon.
What?
The agreement was to move your old dock to the new location. That was the agreement.
That was what
You took advantage of us because your permit said differently, and you said, I'll let you use it. I'm offended by that because that's not what we agreed upon. You can look at me in the face, you can say whatever you want to say. The bottom line is, we sat right here, talked to you, and the agreement was you were to move the dock you had to the new location. That was the agreement. Now, that's not what the permit says, I agree, but that's still not what we agreed upon. I mean, I don't mean, and now you want me to dock that shouldn't be here in the first place. It shouldn't be there in the first place. And you want me to okay it? It ain't gonna happen. Not for me. No, it doesn't matter what you say. Go ahead.
I can't hear anything anybody's saying.
The whole dock.
3 foot by 6 foot.
This whole dock is not in compliance, period. And it's not what we agreed upon.
The permit is what it was agreed
We had a verbal agreement on something different. That's where the disagreement comes in. You can go back and watch. You can go back and watch that meeting. We agreed upon the moving of the dock, not building another dock. That wasn't what we agreed upon.
The conversation that I had with Tim is I believe what was carried forward to council. Our intention was to use the dock.
Hello?
Yeah, we can't hear you. One of the council members can't hear you.
The original intent was to use our old dock, knowing that in order to get a proper boat dock, we would be revisiting a permit and application to the city. Right before we made application, we decided it was not something we wanted to do a two-step process. Therefore, we made application. I filled it out to the best of my ability. It said a new construction. I checked it off, gave the description that we wanted to go forward with. And that's what we put in front of council.
We sat there and specifically asked you, you're moving the old dock to the new location. We did ask you that. And you said yes. That's what you said. So I was holding you to that. And now you did something completely different.
So I'm sorry, if you're on the phone, can you mute yourself so that you guys, because we can't hear and we're getting echo. But if you mute yourself, you should be able to still hear the meeting, and then if you want to speak, if you want to unmute, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, it's true.
Can I just clarify before we go? You came to one meeting and then another meeting, is that right? Because I think I missed the first meeting.
I just came to the meeting at the beginning of the month that typically late
Okay.
stuff isn't.
And we didn't make a decision then, or we did?
No.
Okay.
I asked that we're gonna be applying for.
I do remember that now. Okay.
And just what do I need to know and so on and so forth, and it was,
And then you came to the following meeting?
Right.
I think she's muted us.
Hello?
Hold on. I gotta.
Hang up on
You have it.
Can Brett call us back and just listen?
Is anyone else on there other than Brett? Okay.
Okay. So
Thank you for saving the day.
Yeah. There's enough tension already.
Probably was giving me a earache.
Okay, so you came to the first meeting, we said it's not the lake meeting, you came to the next meeting with the documents? Because I don't recall, did you have them the first time or not?
No,
Okay.
I just asked, what do I need when we come before the council? I wanted to just be able to follow process.
Okay. And I do see that your permit does say that. It does not have the roof. So that is something that would be an issue with
Right.
us. So because the drawing's not on it, and I think there's a restriction on roof height too, so we probably need to know that as well. I don't know. But when we talked to you at that meeting, it's so terrible. It must be somebody else.
No, it's Brett. He unmuted himself after I muted him.
Okay. And I do distinctly remember that it was conditional, because I think there was confusion when we were talking to Todd about when it was actually approved. We didn't approve anything the first time she came.
No.
It was
We
approved
didn't ask.
at the lake meeting, and it was conditional upon moving the existing dock over. And Tim's right next to me, and I know exactly what he said at that moment was, so for sure, you're moving that dock to the new position.
I did not hear that.
Okay.
I was, I was right here.
Yeah.
Multiple conversations. There was a lot of talk, I think, because, we were moving away from our house down
Yes.
along a shoreline. That seemed to be the bigger issue. I did not at any time hear anybody address moving the old dock. I mean, I've gone back and listened to it as well.
Okay.
But when I filled out the application to move, I meant wholesale move, like I applied for a new construction.
Mm-hmm.
And there should have been some acknowledgement, wait a minute, your permit says, your application says this, but I thought you were moving your old dock. That never came up. I didn't realize that.
That conversation took place with you and I as we were walking along the shore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know how many times you told me, you verified with me that you're moving that little dock from A to B? And you told me at that time, you don't need a larger dock.
That's
All
correct.
you needed was a small dock to paddle your kayak up to. And I believe you said for your grandchildren to jump off of. That's all that you needed was that dock. And I remember telling you at that time, Debbie, if you were wanting to build a new dock, there's no way the council would go for this. But since you're just moving that little tiny dock from A to B, I think I might be able to convince them that that's going to be okay. And I felt awful when I found out that's not what you did. That's what you told me 3 times during that conversation.
That was our intent. And when we sat down to do the paperwork, like on Thursday night, because we were going to turn it on Friday, I looked at my husband and I said, are you sure you want to make this a 2-step process? Get it moved and then ask for a proper, a 20 by 24 dock, which is, I understand, to be standard size. I didn't realize that our conversation was, in effect, by default, the application. In other words, it evidently didn't matter what we applied for, the conversation. And I apologize when we talked to you on the phone when you were going to work that day. I said, yeah, you're right. That was our conversation. And it was by no means anything other than us just coming to the conclusion that we didn't want to go through it twice. And so,
Debbie, what it boils down to for me is I feel that I convinced the council to go along with it based on the condition that you were moving the small dock from A to B.
you mean that night at the meeting or before? Because I
When
would,
we were in the meeting, when we voted to approve it. And I remember Brad even speaking up and asking, are they going to build a new dock in its place? And I said, no. She reassured me all she wants to do is move the dock from A to B. And then we voted and approved it. And instantly I was told, you know what they're going to do? They're going to build a new dock now. And I said, no. They told me they didn't want to. That's all they want to do is move the small dock from A to B.
all I can say is we had a change of heart about it, in very real terms.
If we can turn back the clock, which obviously nobody can, let's put ourselves back in the day when we were approving this. Had we known that it was going to be a 20 by 24 dock that you're planning on putting in here? I know what the answer would have been from the council.
That,
I think you do too.
no, not necessarily. I mean, we have no history of anything coming before this council. You know, and typically didn't come to meetings or anything, have any prior knowledge of how it operated, other than the city hands you this application, you pay your $50 and you fill it out. I had no idea that it wouldn't be read. That, you know what I'm saying?
I do recall looking at this, and I do feel like we said several times that you were gonna just move your dock over. I mean, I didn't feel like it was confusing. Maybe that's because I'm up here and I'm in the voice, but I didn't feel like it was.
No.
And I also feel like maybe there was opportunity after you changed your mind and wanted to build a new dock to actually return and double check, I guess. I don't know why you wouldn't have asked, I guess, when you guys had a clear understanding that you were gonna move a dock, not build a dock. Regardless of the permit, I guess is my, I mean, I would have double checked, even if I just called Stephanie and said, look, can I still build the new dock, even if they told me to move the other dock?
So I want to go back to, maybe it's terminology. I mean, we wanted to move our dock. We wanted to move our location. And we put in writing what we were asking for. You know, not my intent, not my husband's intent to mislead or bait and switch anybody for anything. We'd spent a lot of money on our property and he just didn't think it was in the cards to go forward with it. And I said, well, it's either that or it's a two-step process. You know, we go ahead and get it moved and use it for a year or so or whatever until we can move forward. And he's like, let's just do it. So that was just it. We just applied for what we wanted. When if you guys are talking about moving your dock, well, yeah, we want to move our dock.
There was no confusion there.
It wasn't
Don't
on
play
my
like there
part.
was.
No.
You discussed it with me when we walked on the shore.
And I'm saying, yes, you were
And it wasn't
right.
move locations.
Right. That was our intent.
And when I made the motion to approve, it was provided that you're moving the small dock from A to B.
Yeah, we have minutes.
Yeah. Do we have those minutes?
I've looked at the video and I never
think
heard the
maybe
word
there's
like old dock or new dock or any
You know what?
terminology.
You know
to
what
that effect.
what understanding I left our conversation with.
I was expecting questions about the permit, and I thought, well, maybe that's not the big deal. The big deal was moving, being in front of others.
But you stood next to me in Connie's backyard when I told you if you were building a full-size dock, there's no way this would fly.
I'm sorry, I do not remember that
Tim,
at all.
wait, can I say something here? Why wouldn't we? I know what he's talking about, and I know these conversations happen. But you made a statement that we wouldn't have allowed a
Yeah.
dock to go there. Why wouldn't we?
Well, I can't speak for the rest of the council, but I know that we have not let people just simply pull stakes on their dock and move it to another place just because they want to. We don't, that's not something that we practice.
But we would let somebody build there because that was our shoreline and there was nothing there.
If we were
There's
to
no
build
reason.
more docks, yeah. And I told her that as well. That some of the council are not in favor of
But
adding
that's
more
something we
docks.
would have voted on though. That's what.
What
you guys
we would have voted on
it.
yes.
So, okay, I just wanted to clarify that because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, why wouldn't we have done that? And I know about.
Someone
the
certainly
Smithsonian.
could apply to build a brand new dock in that spot. There's no question. That's what I was making
Yes.
clear earlier. The landowners don't own the shoreline, the city does.
Yes.
I don't mean for that to sound rude or in your face, but that's a fact.
It is, but these people knew when they bought their house where their dock would be.
Well,
And
and
that's something
I
that they
understand
didn't
that,
like
Connie, but
They shouldn't have
honestly, that part is irrelevant to me right now as well.
Right.
Because the story I was told is that you want this little tiny dock
I'm
moved from
not
here to
denying
here.
that. I'm not denying that in any way.
And the thing that I made the motion to approve was that moving the small dock from A to B. I remember I had to convince Mr. Height here
That's what
to
was,
go along with it.
that's what was approved. And that's where we have an argument when we discuss it, is that we approved the moving of this little dock over to here. We did not approve the permit that you're saying we did approve. And that's where we have a disagreement.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I mean, that, yeah.
It's because of the wording. So sorry, I don't want to jump in here, but Annie, you
please
were
do.
asking about the minutes. So the process of events is Tim and her talked. She then changed and she put this in with Carrie. Carrie gave you guys this in the meeting to move location, and it's for a 20 by 24 dock at that next meeting. So it wasn't like after the fact of making.
But the discussions were had at the meeting, the next meeting.
During the meeting.
At that very next meeting, I just want to make it clear and put it on the record that I was approving to move the current dock from A to B, not build a new one.
That was at this, that was a different meeting
That
entirely.
they were not at.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
talking, the first
So,
meeting was,
Was
first meeting
that
was.
recorded during that approval? That it was
Yeah.
conditional upon moving the dock?
To be- well,
That's what I thought happened.
When I
I'm
can send the
pretty sure it
recording to everybody.
That's fine.
So if you listen to the recording, it doesn't say moving the current dock. I think I wrote, did I send you the exact words?
No.
It's moving dock. It's moving the dock from A to B. That's,
Okay, so
that was the
something was.
terminology, moving the dock from A to B, but
Well,
this
okay.
was
That's
the
pretty-
permit that
But
was
that in
submitted.
itself is pretty self-explanatory. They didn't own a dock in the first place. So when you say moving a dock from A
Well,
to B,
they didn't own a 20 by
no,
24.
they
new
owned,
dock,
they
new
owned
dock.
one specific dock. So when they applied, and that's what you're saying, they were specifically talking about that little dock.
And that's all.
Because they
I'm
know
just
that was not
our intent,
speaking
though.
to
Well,
By-
what
we're,
was
by
we're not,
written
the process.
we're not
of
talking about
events.
intent right now. We're talking about what's on the record
Right.
that these guys considered. And what I'm trying to clear up here is that you had a verbal discussion outside a meeting chamber with Tim. We discussed that. First meeting was that you went to, we couldn't address it because it wasn't before us
didn't
at a lake
ask.
meeting,
I didn't
right?
ask.
You didn't ask.
No.
Second meeting at the meeting, this was submitted.
Yes.
And then that discussion that you just said was, we approved moving A to B.
Yes.
And then that was what was said. Then later on, this came up a month ago or two, right? When
Well, they asked for
The six-
an
yeah.
extension for build, and we were like, what? Because they shouldn't need time, extra time to move a floating dock.
So
Yeah,
you
and
asked
then-
for an extension on this and it was approved.
The extension was approved.
yeah, but
Condition,
you
but didn't
know-
you say right then?
Conditional
Yes,
on
on,
a move
yes,
because.
correct.
and that's when that was
I
said
feel
too.
like that was both meetings though. I mean, I know it's semantics. I feel like at both meetings it was said the dock is moving.
Granted, the extension was approved, but not needed. The dock was in place the day before.
Right, and I get that, yeah. Yeah,
Well, the new dock.
Yeah.
The brand,
Right.
not the
But we
new.
still discussed.
They weren't certain they were gonna get all the supplies, and I thought, well, we'll have extended past permit time. And that's when I heard Tim say that, it's like, well, they're just moving their dock, and I'm like, oh no, and so I tried to engage in the chat on YouTube and didn't raise anybody, which is fine, but then I got a hold of him the next day and said, what we asked for was this, and I mean, what,
At the risk of entering into this on the legal side, that, man, the fact of the matter is that whatever is, I mean, I think we have a dispute about what was approved here in some respects, but I think it's moot. Because the city controls us, it's lakefront. It can remove any dock it chooses when it chooses. It will not do so arbitrarily and capriciously, but it would do so within its discretion. So I think that last meeting you guys rejected this dock as being improperly placed and would probably be considered an offending structure. They could also act even apart from that to demand that you remove it from the property, because as soon as it's not properly there, it's a trespass. So I think the issue for today, if not today, then at some point would be what the city wants to do with the current situation. I think we all understand what happened. The question is what goes from here. And I'm telling you that even if everything we say here is wrong and everybody's mistaken incredibly, this body still has it within its authority to demand removal of that dock. And any other structure on the lake, for that matter.
Is this an appropriate time for us to make any comments?
Would you like, yeah.
Further discussion?
One comment I that I
I'm
think-
sorry, excuse me, what's your
I'm
name?
Stacy Mickens, I'm Brad's wife. So we live next door to Connie. I don't know what side because we're stuff. I think when you're making a decision about this, look what's happened. It could bear on things that might happen in the future. I think she's taken advantage of a situation. Brad mentioned this earlier when he mentioned that she had said that she talked to all the neighbors and we were all okay with that. And that was a complete lie.
Excuse me.
And
I said I spoke to the neighbors on either side of us because they were there before we were there. So if somebody was going to apply for an open spot.
And I think you're seeing exactly what she does is she twists and turns, and I've heard it with you and I've heard it with you, and I'm just like, I just have been biting my tongue because this is a person that takes advantage of situations. It's how I feel what she's done. But I feel like moving forward, if you don't make the right decision, other people could do the same thing, taking advantage of things of like taking advantage of you because
The word I would say would be credibility. And that'd be on your
Well,
part
that's
as a
lot.
council.
We stop discussion. Do we need to go?
Well, I mean, it's, you guys, I don't know.
It just, I feel like we've discussed this quite a bit and have gone around and around. And I have a feeling that the council will probably have a little discussion and then a vote, because I think it's just getting more and more emotional.
I don't need to have a discussion. I want to.
Brad, I know.
Well, this is
pretty simple.
I know.
Yeah,
Or not.
Yeah. Well, I think it's appropriate to say that this is probably within the council's to act or not act, because there was an action at the last meeting to say that it's not approved. So.
At the last meeting, we did, because it was we call it an offending structure because it had a roof on it and all that. That was beyond the permit that was there. And then, so all of this actually is new.
So on one.
Because it had it wasn't built to the specifications, even with the second permit.
There's only one.
Permit, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
permit.
It's an oversized dock because it's outside the 24-foot constraints. And then because your permit didn't have the roof listed, we didn't approve that. So the roof is out of compliance and the size of the dock is out of compliance. So then, yes, we need to decide what our action
Well,
is.
and our actions they already made actions last meeting.
But they can do anything.
Yes.
If there's further action to be taken, that's done too. So
Further action.
whatever you want to do.
Council, do you want to have further action on this or
I
just?
want to remove.
Well, yeah.
What did we decide last time? I don't refresh.
That it was
I thought that's what we decided last time.
I think you guys made a motion for it to, it was a offending center and that it was supposed to be removed.
You see that? Okay. Well, you know, unless they alter that action, that's going to stand. So.
Council, we'll move forward with this then. I think this discussion is just causing hurt. No other discussion? All right.
You may wish to remove the dock as soon as possible, ma'am. we in executive yet, or is that
The next thing would be
Executive session.
executive session,
5 minutes or 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
Okay, looking for the motion.
I move to go on executive session for 2 minutes.
What, Attorney Clive Turley?
Attorney client.
That was the second. 10 minutes. Is Brett still on the phone?
Brett is the only one, yeah. So there's
Brett, are
nobody
you
else.
alone?
Yes,
Be alone.
Justin can see.
Brett, are you alone, or
No,
can
I
you go in the
don't
bathroom or
No,
something?
you wanna sit in for that?
I'm on the line.
No, ask him again.
No.
Oh, he's on the line, all right.
We need a
So you need a vote.
Yeah, we need a vote.
All in favor?
And then I have to turn off the cameras.
Yeah, well, I'll start it in 30 seconds.
Yeah. You have a tough time being late, don't you?
Oh, you got a cancel phone, I have an iPhone, I'll go with you.
And to be honest, I wish I had that. I'm missing some of the, a lot of what you got.
Oh my God, that was tough.
Yeah.
Now it's time.
No, most time for you, it's a good thing.
Yes.
I can't even, what's the executive session about?